This is IGN's WrestleFest. Join us tonight as we make history and announce another 11 superstars from THQ's Legends of WrestleMania. Now with me, as always, is the big bopper of Brisbane, Gregory James Miller.
Thank you, Howard, but enough with the pleasantries. Let's get down to brass tacks and find out who's going to be in this game. When I think of WrestleMania, I think of the man who made pink cool, Bret the Hitman Hart.
The best there was, the best there is, and the best that will ever be. This is my choice for one of the top stars in the game. He was a master of wrestling. He was a master of talking. He was a master of everything inside the squared circle. The Hitman Bret Hart, an absolute gold for Legends of WrestleMania.
Of course, Bret trained in his father Stu's dungeon. So did Jim the Anvil Neidhart.
And he did indeed. The native of Reno, Nevada, went to Calgary, Alberta, and we had an international incident of the highest order. The Hitman, the Anvil, they formed the Hart Foundation. But Jim the Anvil Neidhart, individually, was one tough powerhouse as well. So you're going to get the pink and black attack individually or collectively in the Legends of WrestleMania game.
Howard, two words still scare me. Bunzai drop.
You could only be referring, Gregory, to the mighty Yokozuna, the 500-pound-plus superstar. Let's take you back to the Royal Rumble in Sacramento, California. Do you remember when he entered the ring? He was like a tornado, a hurricane, and a monsoon, no pun intended, gorilla, combined. He was another individual who, despite his size and prowess, was quick as a cat inside the squared circle.
Outside of the ring, he was no slouch either, thanks to his manager, Mr. Fuji.
Let me tell you, Gregory-san, Mr. Fuji, devious mind, devious character. And Mr. Fuji, a manager personified, also a member of the Legends of WrestleMania.
Howard, if we want to talk about crazy accents, you have to talk about the Honky Tonk Man.
Well, the only accent he made was when he hit his opponents over the head with a guitar. He was the man who shaked, rattled, and rolled, and to this day still can claim that he is the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. You're going to have your opportunity to press those buttons on the game if you want to shake, rattle, and roll when you choose the Honky Tonk Man.
Of course, the Honky Tonk Man squared off against Jake the Snake at WrestleMania 3.
And Jake the Snake Roberts is going to square off as part of the Legends of WrestleMania. Jake the Snake Roberts and Honky Tonk Man did have a classic encounter at WrestleMania 3, but from that point on, we got to know a lot more about Jake the Snake Roberts. He was very intrinsic in his thinking. His mind would do mind games not only to himself, but to his opponents. But people liked Jake the Snake Roberts overall because he was unique. He was the different type of individual inside the squared circle. Plus, he brought that python Damien. Do you remember Damien?
Hiss.
How did that go again?
Hiss.
Exactly. His character, Jake the Snake Roberts, was a force to be reckoned with.
While Jake the Snake loved his mind, Ravishing Rick Rude loved his body.
And do you remember that Ravishing Rick Rude at that time, when Jake the Snake was going big guns, also seemed to enjoy Jake's wife Cheryl at the time? Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. And under the managerial tutelage of Bobby the Brain Heenan, Ravishing Rick Rude strongly felt that he was God's gift to women.
Heenan also took care of our next superstar, King Kong Bundy.
Bobby Heenan was an integral part of King Kong Bundy with the incident with King Kong Bundy and Big John Studd cutting Andre the Giant's hair. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. WrestleMania, the very first one in 1985. It took only 9 seconds for King Kong Bundy to defeat S.D. Jones. But fast forwarding, what does this mean?
5 count.
Because that's the only thing King Kong Bundy did when he won a match. He said he needed to count to 5, and to this day, I don't know why.
As if King Kong Bundy wasn't scary enough, Nikolai Volkoff is also in this game.
Well, let's not go rushing to judgment, my good friend. Nikolai Volkoff was a tag team champion co-holder with the Iron Sheik, but Nikolai Volkoff also made my life somewhat miserable back in the day. Every time I would announce Nikolai Volkoff and I would then leave the ring, he would stop me and basically in no uncertain terms say, I want the fans to rise and respect my singing of the Soviet national anthem. With American Idol in today's genre, I think he would have been a dismal failure.
Mm-hmm. While we're talking about foreigners, let's talk Kamala.
From Uganda, the Ugandan giant. Now here was a man that you didn't know what to expect. And quite frankly, he didn't either because he was under the guise of Kimchi, at one point the Wizard. Kamala has had a past just tremendously laden with victory after victory. The man used to go like this on his stomach. You know what that meant?
He's hungry.
It was time for the dinner bell. It was time to make short work of many an opponent. It's a very unique choice, but a good one with Kamala in the Legends of WrestleMania.
Howard, let's bring it back stateside with Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Hunter Hearst Helmsley, when he joined WWE in the mid-90s, he was known as the Connecticut Blue Blood. Nobody was better than him. He was the prude, shall we say. He moved on. Remember the hog pen match that he had at In Your House against Henry Godwin? His career skyrocketed. He became a champion. He became the Game. He's known as Triple H today. You want to talk about relive and redefine and recreate? This is one individual that you're going to have a blast doing so. Well, that's another star-studded section of the roster from Legends of WrestleMania, Gregory.
It sure is, Fink. But even though today's episode of IGN's WrestleFest is done, it's important to point out that Monday's show is the big one, the granddaddy of them all.
Indeed it is, Gregory. Our next broadcast will feature the final batch of participants that you'll find in WWE Legends of WrestleMania. Once that show is over, then fans across the globe will know every superstar in the game.
That's huge, Howard. I don't know if I'll be able to contain myself, but I'll have to try. For all of us at KFIM, good night, and have a turnbuckle tomorrow.